member services, and you have told them that you have like what type of a coverage you have, which the insurance is.
Which insurance? It's not America without your insurance denying you. And it's okay. I will figure it out.
I decided to get my lunch now because when it's lunchtime, this place will be packed. So I'm getting my lunch. I'm getting a little mule. So far the talk is going really well. I feel like I'm understanding a lot of what's being said, but he is like going quickly through some things, so I'm glad I got pictures and I can go through them later. But we'll see. I have a mule. I'll take it. Bit it. It's raining. We're on lunch now. I'm walking back to my hotel because I'm tired and I want to sit down, eat my food, edit a little, I guess, or take a nap. I don't know. Whichever comes first. But I didn't have an umbrella this time. I don't know why I didn't bring one. It rained last year too. Yeah. Such a cute building. Maybe I will just rest. Ignore the fit. We had to update it because it started pouring. So I was just talking to my boyfriend because one of the girls that I met a couple years ago here asked if I would do the MC for their Juneteenth day, and that like was like the first thing she asked me, and I think that's insane and it makes me very nervous, and I'm like, no, like I'm probably not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Like I hope she picks someone else. My boyfriend's like, but she asked you, you know, like that opportunity came to you, and you're always like so scared of putting yourself out there and like believing in yourself. And it was a really, it just changed my life. But genuinely, like it does make me nervous. It makes me feel very shy. I don't want to do it. Like it's not like, oh my gosh, no, I would never. It's just I don't feel like I'm the person to do it. And I feel like there's better people out there for it than me. And I don't know why I feel that way so deeply, but I do. And I don't know if I'm going to end up doing it or not. Like right now, I'm still sitting on the edge of not. But I'm going to see how I feel, I guess, later. I don't know. It makes me really nervous. And I'm grateful for the opportunity, but it's more so like I usually come to these things because I know I'm not the smartest person in the room, and I'm there to learn. I'm there to like absorb the information that is being taught to me. But I feel like he was kind of saying, why not take that to make it part of your experience? you go there, you do learn all this information and you get to share it, and like you've taught me so much about psychedelics, you've taught your friends so much about psychedelics, you do have a role here, this is part of who you are. And I think that's such a sweet thing to say because it does feel very separate from me. And I don't know, I'm still very shy about the whole thing, and I gotta go back to my workshop now, but I wanted to like kind of talk about it because I'm really in my head about it. And when we were talking, I kind of started thinking about like, okay, like what things could I say, like, because you know, if you're gonna be an MC, like my dad's a DJ, I've watched him MC so many different times in my life, and even he gets nervous. And so I'm just like, it's okay, I can do it, but my brain is like, no, don't do it, you're shy. I don't know. Okay, we gotta go. They're asking too many questions for me, I'm sorry. I will Google the rest of the answers, right? Okay, thank you. I am tired. You had to hear it.
With that Louis V. She said she wished there was two of me. She fucking, she know what she doing, B. I be dancing like my jewelry. Walking that bit with some racks. Fresh as a definite fact.
I'm gonna take myself to Yard House for dinner. I would go to the restaurant inside the building, but it closes at 9 and it's 9:01. Well, they close at 10. They stop serving dinner at 9. I don't know where like my eating habit timing clock, I don't know what's wrong with it, because right now this would mean that it's 11 p.m. at home, but a girl's got to do what she's got to do, and a girl would like to eat, so didn't put on anything fancy, really don't care, I just want to go get something to eat, and that's it. Okay, I love Yard House. I'm comfortable here. Okay, I fell asleep shortly after I got back to my room, but I just woke up, took a shower, and like I'm just gonna finish my edamame because I don't have anywhere to put it if I want to eat it tomorrow. I kind of just want to eat it now. And I was craving a lemonade, so I made a lemonade, or I got a lemonade from the fridge, and a tonic water to mix it with. I don't know what's wrong with me, and I just love seltzer.
Medicine doesn't talk about death enough because death is scary and you don't want your patients to die. But when people are actively dying, how do we help them go through the emotional turmoil that they are going through in a way that makes them feel more at peace? The concept of duality, where you are allowed to be suffering and also still experience joy at the same time. Demoralization is the hopelessness, meaningless, and existential distress that people are experiencing at one's core, which is different than depression. Palliative care affirms life, and it regards death as a normal process. It doesn't hasten or postpone death, and it allows you to integrate psychosocial and spiritual aspects into patient care, as well as helping people recognize their purpose, their value, and their life's meaning. Their goal is to utilize psychedelics to help recalibrate a person's relationship with suffering. Often spirituality is talked about in end-of-life care because your meaning and purpose of life direct your attitude towards death. Your self-transcendence reflects your appreciation of life. Your transcendence with a higher being, whether that's God or some other entity, is a reflection upon your fundamental values, even if you're not necessarily religious. Eric Cassell said, "Transcendence is the most powerful way in which one is restored to wholeness. Everyone has a transcendent dimension, a life of spirit. When experienced, a transcendence locates the person in a far larger landscape. Such an experience need not involve religion in any formal sense. However, it is transpersonal dimension. It is deeply spiritual. The quality of being greater and more lasting than an individual life gives this aspect of the person its timeless dimension. The profession of medicine appears to ignore the human spirit. When I see patients in nursing homes who have become only bodies, I wonder whether it is not their transcendent dimension that they have lost." Another quote that was said was by Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor. And he said that, "Man is not destroyed by suffering. He is destroyed by suffering without meaning." And psychedelics can help bring that meaning. Since psychedelics help your brain make neural connections that it wasn't making before, you start to process a lot of things in a more clear and understanding manner. It's like you have all the answers. What it really does is show you that the answers are within you. Classic hallucinogens include psilocybin, LSD, DMT, mescaline, MDMA, ketamine, and the one that I focus on the most is psilocybin, or as some of you may know it as magic mushroom. The reason we call them serotonergic is because they have a very similar chemical structure to the serotonin neurotransmitter, and psilocybin is rapidly metabolized to psilocin, which is an agonist of the 5-HT2A and the 5-HT2C receptors. Those are the serotonin receptors. What I find cool about psychedelics is that they do not lead to addiction or dependence, and you do not need to consume it daily to receive the results and the lessons that it's trying to teach you. And as psychedelics become more mainstream or westernized, we have to take a look at the people who were using them before. A quote by Maria Sabina is, "I realized the young people with long hair didn't need me to eat the little things. Kids ate them anywhere, anytime, and they didn't respect our customs." Maria Sabina was a well-respected healer and shaman in Mexico, and she had been consuming psilocybin for years before she had met Wasson, this thing that we call the Velada mushroom ceremony. That ceremony was to commune with God to help heal the sick. And if the spirits were effectively contacted, they would tell Sabina the nature of the sickness and which way it could be healed. Now, we're not going to do a deep dive on the originations of everything because we would be here all day. Because if we start talking about Maria Sabina and Wasson, we're going to end up starting to talk about the CIA and Project MK Ultra, which was a drug mind control program, and we don't have time to get into that. But my focal point was that she played an important role in helping Westerners understand psychedelics because she allowed them to. So when you're under the influence of psychedelics, we have this state called the mystical states of consciousness. There's unity, noetic quality, sacredness, deeply felt positive mood, ineffability, and paradoxically. This is the talk about the interconnectedness of all people, how we are all one, and how that feeling of oneness is reached through self-transcendence. We talk about that feeling of a profound insight or intuitive knowledge with a force of certainty. Like I said, you feel like you have all the answers. That sacredness, that awe, humility, holiness, reverence, wonder in the presence of an inspiring reality. That joy, the blessed peace and love at an overwhelming degree of intensity, which you could almost bring you to tears. And then your experience is felt beyond words. You can't even verbally communicate what you're feeling. You just feel. You're transcending time and space. Psychedelics in end-of-life care is not a new concept. Even in the 1960s, they were using LSD to try to understand cancer patients better in tandem with psychotherapy. Nixon's war on drugs led to a lot of research being halted and a lot of help no longer being provided for people. In some of those older studies, they saw that LSD reduced the pain severity and depressive symptoms, which also helped improve people's sleep and lessened their fear to their progressing disease. They also saw that with LSD, there was a reduction of the depression and anxiety symptoms, greater acceptance of dying in approximately a third of their patients. And since it was open label, that means that all the patients knew and received the same dosage. But when things are open label, I feel like they can also be a little bit biased, because if you think you're getting something, you might also act towards the idea that you're getting something. I kind of like double blind things a bit better. Another quote that stood out to me is, "Death must become a more human experience. To preserve the dignity of death and prevent the living from abandoning or distancing themselves from the dying is one of the great dilemmas of modern medicine. Hallucinogens may one day provide a technique for altering the experience of dying." So then we start to talk about the NYU Psilocybin Cancer and Anxiety Research Project and the different models that they had used. And I have a list of the different measures and scales that they use, minus I think 2 because I wasn't able to see them in my photo, but it was very interesting. Definitely look them up. When you talk to people about psychedelics, they're often going to discuss the idea and concept of set and setting. And that's because where you are located, how your mindset is, and your intentions behind the trip you're about to go on all influence the journey. If you are not fully open to the experience, it will not do what you need it to do for you. You need to trust it, let it go, and be open. In a way, it's forcing you to trust yourself, trust your consciousness, trust the experience, trust the medicine, and trust that you know what's happening. They have the patients lay down with eye shades on and headphones to help invoke a relaxed state while putting on music, which is an integral component of the session, and that helps guide the trajectory of the session. They want them to focus on the internal experiences rather than the external experiences, and they want them to limit their verbal communication. So less talking, more feeling, more understanding. Now, I've never had a near-death experience. However, they mentioned it a lot during this talk, and especially how it is the primacy of love. And what the near-death experience teaches about love is that everything is love and is made of love and comes from love. Dr. Albert Hofmann in 2007 said this: "Alienation from nature and the loss of the experience of being part of the living creation is the greatest tragedy of our materialistic era. Therefore, I attribute absolute highest importance to conscious change. I regard psychedelics as catalyzers for this. They are tools which are guiding our perception toward other, deeper areas of our human existence, so that we again become aware of our spiritual essence. Psychedelic experiences in a safe setting can help our consciousness open up to this sensation of connection and of being one with nature. It is my great concern to separate psychedelics from the ongoing debates about drugs and to highlight the tremendous potential inherent to these substances for self-awareness, as an adjunct therapy, and for fundamental research into the human mind." Moving on to insights beyond the data, we're introduced to Manish Agrawal and Eloise Cherian from Sunstone Therapies, and we're talking about moving beyond the traditional cancer care. On a surface level, cancer care is traditional oncology, surgery, radiation, and chemo. Below that, we have integrative oncology. And at the root, we have complete oncology care, which is including a psycho-oncology approach, palliative care, and spiritual support. In the presentation, they show us this picture of how Sunstone is set up and how that facilitates the set and setting that we are looking for in the midst of a psychedelics-assisted therapeutic approach. For me, when I come to these conferences, I'm trying to answer the question of what can I do, where can I help, where do I fit in, what is my role gonna be here? And I'm still trying to figure that out. So let's break down psychedelic-assisted therapy treatment in parts. We have mindset, your mental attitude, state of intention, your expectations, your perception of safety and support during the trip. Setting, which is where, when, how, and with whom was happening before, during, and after the dosing. And then the drug, which is the type of substance, the quality of the substance, the amount, and how it is administered. And it's not only the participant's mindset that matters, but also the practitioner's, since you are guiding the session yourself. The clinical model of care starts with the patient's assessment and intake, the medication management, the preparatory psychotherapy, the medication and dosing session, as well as the integration that happens after. Integration is key for results. Often it seems like they'll have the participants complete certain surveys and questionnaires to get a baseline, and then have them repeat the same things post-integration and see if there is a difference in how they are answering these questions about their life or their perception of life. Here you can see the trial design where it takes 8 weeks to fully complete the study because there's preparation up to 30 days before the treatments even begin. What I truly loved about this presentation was how much qualitative data was collected from the participants. Quantitative data is cool and all, it gives you numbers, it gives you, kind of scientific truths, but some things cannot be explained in numbers. Some things you need to just hear in words. For them, the qualitative interview gave light to the true feelings of those who participated in the study, where death no longer becomes the forefront of the patient's mind that they're obsessing over. So I wanted to share some of the excerpts that people have written or discussed in verbal and written interviews about their experience with psychedelics. I think overall, it helps me realize that I am not like one thing. I'm not like when you're angry or worried in the moment, you feel like that's all you are. You're like, I'm always angry, I'm always frustrated with my kids, I'm always this or that. And it helped me see those parts as each part makes up my entire self, but they are not my entire self. There are parts living in there, but I also got to know what we call it my inner knowing, which was the true me inside, the wisdom, the years of experience, all the knowledge that I've gained, and I was able to see those parts as exactly that, just parts. I feel less depressed. I feel like in a way I was able to see the sources of my depression, and once I was able to see that, I realized it's not depression. It's just sometimes very sadness, and that it is within my reach. I'm able to change the way I view my life. I'm able to change my circumstances for a certain extent. So in a way, the depression itself went away, and the things that were under the depression came forward a little bit. I was able to be more connected with the loneliness that I was feeling and with the longing for community and friendship. And then this quote by Carl Jung I really liked because it kind of reminded me of nursing in a way. Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but as you touch a human soul, be just another human soul. Now we're talking about how meaning relates to the debate in science versus objectivity. Science often avoids discussing meaning because it is subjective and it's not measurable, and rather they focus on casual explanations, understanding the why. From this perspective, it's understood that meaning is either a byproduct of brain activity or an illusion created by evolution to help us survive. Some argue that meaning is central to the human experience. And for James, the value of an idea or experience lies in its pragmatic impact. Does it help people find purpose, moral guidance, or happiness? It is intrinsically subjective. It arises from personal experiences and their interpretations, and science alone cannot fully account for its meaning. The conflict with all of this is that reductionists, or people that reduce meaning to the most simple thing, argue that the meaning itself can be explained as a neurochemical process. The meaning of love could be reduced to oxytocin and dopamine levels. However, James and Thomas Nagel would counter this approach that it misses the lived reality of meaning. What it feels like to love or to find purpose in life cannot be captured by describing the brain states. There is this tension between subjectivity and objectivity, which is really a tension between the human experience and the scientific explanation. While science seeks universal truths, meaning is deeply personal and contextual. Thinkers like James and Nagel remind us that both perspectives are essential to understanding the richness of human life. Structure of the scientific revolution is going to be a transition from one paradigm to the next, where we're taking these new fundamentals and implementing them in a new framework, giving them a different light. It's the same stuff, the same data as before, but now we're looking at it through a new lens. This Albert Einstein quote really sat with me. Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. This goes back into my appreciation for the qualitative data that this study is showing, rather than just focusing on the quantitative, because you can't fully explain things in numbers sometimes. And Arthur Schopenhauer said, all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. And third, it is accepted as self-evident. In the following section, we're going to meet Mary Cosimano. Mary Cosimano is a licensed master social worker. And in her presentation, she's talking about the different attendees' reflections on their psychedelic experience while they are also going through death. The experience allowed me to focus on the moment of death and the intense realization of what is important to me in that time that leads up to it. Pondering my death raised greater awareness that living in the now fully and authentically is true liberation and even bliss. Mary's presentation talks a lot about death awareness and its importance, its relation to your personal life experience, the fact that everybody dies and it's not talked about openly enough. And on top of that, death is a mystery. No one actually knows what happens when you pass. Some of the workshop attendees' experience discusses needing to grieve together before they can be together. That feeling of, you've seen me in my worst, you've seen me in my best, you've seen me fully, because we all want to be seen and paid attention to. Someone being grateful for being able to talk through their story, because sometimes you have to tell your story to transcend your story. And we wonder, why are we so scared to talk about death? And if we're so scared to talk about death, how do the elderly get taken care of in the best way? How do they get taken care of in the best countries for them? And how can we do more? She mentions the situation where someone was dying and they were talking about how the family coming over and caring for her mother was showing the mother that she still had so much to live for, that still gave her so much life, where that community aspect helps provide that sense of peace surrounding actively dying. That's that grieving together. And then they brought up this concept of dying before you die so you won't die. And I was like, what are you talking about? So in The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, they said, the secret of life is to die before you die. And, well, let's question, what helps us die before we die? Meditation, psychedelics, near-death experiences, certain conversations, education, and death awareness exercises. They talk a bit about what actually happens when you're actively dying, when your breathing ceases and your heart stops beating, and your identity dissolves, letting go of your ego self so that your essence self can thrive. And they describe death like taking off a tight shoe. We're aware that the idea of dying before you die is not new, because all religions and spiritual teachings address death and dying, such as the Dalai Lama, Krishna, and his disciples, as well as understanding just the impermanence of life. And to finish off, I want to talk about this mantra that I believe I will carry with me, and I think you should as well, through everything that you do, through every meditation, through every prayer, through everything. Make me a channel for your peace. Make me a channel for your peace. Whether you're religious or not, or you pray to a higher being of any kind, implementing this mantra can help bring you some peace by allowing it to be the things that flow through you. I just want to say thank you all so much for watching and listening to this video. I know that it's both part vloggy and also like science based, but I really do like to share both parts of my life because they are such a big part of who I am. I want to especially say thank you so much to Dr. Anthony Bossis, Mary Cosimano, Dr. Manish Agrawal, and Eloise Cherian for this presentation on psychedelic therapy for end-of-life and palliative care. It's definitely going to be implemented into my life and hopefully my future work dealing with hospice and palliative care as a nurse. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to go to this presentation and be a part of it for however many hours it was. And I hope that you guys learned something through this. So if you found something very interesting, please don't be shy, like, comment, and subscribe so I can hear your thoughts and you can be around for some more videos, because I'm never going to stop going to these things and I'm never going to stop sharing what I learned with the world. So thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day or night whenever you're watching this, and I hope to see you back on the Virgo vlogs very soon. And as a reminder from Maria Sabina, heal yourself with beautiful love, and always remember, you are the medicine. Thank you.